Which question did we see last? Okay, 6 correct or wrong statements. Okay, that question. 110. Yeah, 112. I think 113 also we have seen. No, 114 we did not see. Till 112, 113. Yeah, which of the following is not correctly matched? We did not see it. Okay. So in this case, you should know that albugo is a fungi. Okay. Albugo is like a fungi which will cause a disease in mustard plant. This is something which you have got it from your NCERT textbook directly. Okay. So something to remember about albugo. Things that you should know about albugo is a oomycete. Or it can be like you can classify them as phycomycetes. And they cause disease in mustard plant. You should remember this about albugo. Okay, so this is something that you should know. The next one, 115th one, pseudomycelium is a characteristic feature of what? Pseudomycelium is the characteristic feature of what they are asking. Pseudomycelium means you don't have mycelium, proper mycelium. Okay, you know that yeast is like something which is unicellular. Okay, and then it will not have a proper kind of like mycelium kind of thing. So whereas all the other things will have like a hypha, which will try to be like kind of like what? Septate or aseptate. You will be able to see this kind of structures in higher organisms. But in yeast, you will not have something. Pseudo means false. Mycelium means mycelium. False mycelium is seen in yeast. Why? Because they are not exactly mycelium, but they are all like fragments of what? Yeast. It will be like this. So this is looking like a false mycelium, but it is not the original mycelium. Okay, the answer here is yeast. The second most abundant producers in the marine environment is which one they are asking? The first group is chrysophytes. And the second one is dinoflagellates. This is for marine environment. Okay. Whereas euglenoids are mostly found in freshwater cases. There are marine forms also, but still they will be like majoritarily present only in what? Freshwater. This is something that you should remember. Okay. So here the answer is dinoflagellates. Okay. A dinoflagellate may appear in which of these following colors? we of course know that goniolax is red in color. Okay, but this dinoflagellate is like kind of very diverse in terms of your coloring pattern. So this is like kind of, they have like variety of pigments. Yellow color, it can be brown color, it can be green color, it can be blue color, it can be red color. Any of those colors, we call it as, you name it, it will be there in dinoflagellates. They are the most color diversified group. Okay, so that is your 117. 118, desmids are also referred to as what they are asking. In your CBSE textbook, it would have been given as golden algae. Okay, CBSE text would have given it as golden algae, but gold. Okay, so now, what is the difference between desmid and diatom? Can someone tell me? What is the difference between desmid and diatom? How would you differentiate between them? Yes, I'm waiting for answers. What is the difference between desmid and diatom? Yes, I'm getting some good thing. So basically, the cell wall is the one which will help you to determine these things. Cell wall in diatoms is silicaceous. Okay. Whereas in case of desmids, cellulose is made. Okay. And then this is like one thing that you should know. This is the first difference. And the second difference is appearance itself. Desmids contain chlorophyll. So they will be appearing green in color mostly. Diatoms will not appear green. They will be any other color. They will have like more of cyan based colors. You know what is cyan? No? You guys know what is cyan? Cyan is blue. Okay. Cyan is like kind of blue color. So it will be like having in terms of appearance color, desmids will be having green color. And don't now ask me, sir, why do you call it as like golden brown algae? They will be having golden brown algae. I mean like golden brown color tinged with green. Okay. So this is second thing that you should know. The third difference is soapbox appearance in diatoms. It will be appearing as if like a soap box. One box is like kind of fitting into another box kind of structure. Okay, that soap box, as if like how you see a soap box in the same pattern, it will be like made up of two layers. This is a very characteristic feature of diatoms. Okay, so these are the three differences that you should know about what and what. Desmids and diatoms. Please take it as a small a thing. I mean like a tabular column. So it would be helpful for preparation. Whatever I am giving now, you try to take it in the reverse side of the note so that you will know exactly it is not a continuation. From front side to back side, you are like kind of writing this thing, regular notes. In the back side, you please start taking these things and you write it as additional notes for biological classification. Okay. So please write these three differences. These three are like very important. Okay, the next question 119, it is trying to ask you which of the following is not a viral disease. Mumps, we know it is virus disease. Smallpox, we know is virus disease. Okay, you should know that citrus canker is a very popular fungal disease. Okay, citrus canker is a fungal disease which will affect the citrus plants. Dwarfing and stunted growth of plants is seen due to viruses. So this is the next thing. Next question, which of them is like kind of a wrong pairing of the disease and the causal organism? Just now we studied that mustard levante, if there is a disease, it is albugo. Okay. So they have given here late blight of potato is caused by the fungus Phytophthora infestans. These kind of questions, no, you cannot like really like get it like right in the first go. These are all things that you have to write it and then like study it over a period of time. So now that you know that these three are correct, okay, and you know that late blight of potato is caused by this thing. So what you have to do, write these things and keep it separately as a fungal diseases. All these things are fungal diseases in plants, and then like you should start studying. These are all factual questions. You really like cannot like what to say. There is a different approach to it. So you just have to write them, keep them separately, and then start memorizing them. You cannot study all the things that you are like that are there, but what you will be able to do is like you will be able to give it. Actually, you have this one in NCRT. It is given. Like let me show you how it is given. So this is the NCRT textbook. You see here, this part you see. you are able to see that albugo is a thing, parasitic fungus in mustard. Okay, so this is like kind of given in the textbook. Albugo is given in the textbook. But what is the thing that is not given here is like here in this question, if you see, you have given it as albugo candida. This candida part is not given. And it is also not mentioned that it is causing white rust in mustard. Okay, so maybe whenever you are seeing an example like this in NCRT, if you want to score well in NEET, what you need to have to do is like you just have to take this, pick this word, and then probably Google something about it. Okay, so it is given here. And similarly, you have the next one. You see here, you see this thing they have given about aspergillus. Some examples of this thing are aspergillus, claviceps, and neurospora. Here they have also given that neurospora is extensively used in biochemical genetic work. And many members like morels and truffle are edible and considered as delicacies. So here they did not give anything about diseases. But let us see about some common members are agaricus mushroom. Astilago is like kind of a smut. It causes disease called as smut. And Puccinia is called as a rust fungus. So they have given the mention of this thing. So all these things are mentioned in the NCRT textbook, but in a very crude form it is given. So you see here Ustilago smut is given. So which means Ustilago smut. So this is correct. The next one also you see Puccinia. Puccinia is like kind of, it is given it as rust fungus. So which means the answer here is, this is also correct. But late blight is not caused by Alternaria, okay, but it is caused by Phytophthora infestans. So which means you have to like kind of like write this and keep it separately. And maybe you have to study it in case if you're thinking of scoring good in biology. Most of these questions would be like taken from the textbook examples only, but slightly modified here and there. So, but if you know that textbook examples itself, you will be able to answer them rightly. The next question, 121. Okay, children, please take down this thing. This point alone, at least you write it somewhere and keep, because like you might not be going through this paper later. So at least like if there is a chance, you might go through your notes. So late blight is caused by Phytophthora infestans. I think this is a very basic question, the 121st question. Which of the following kingdom does not contain cell wall? Only one cell kingdom does not have it. Animal kingdom will not have cell wall. All the remaining will have cell wall. Okay, something to know about it. As far as cell wall is concerned, animals no. Plants, cellulose, Monera, non-cellulose, except water. Mycoplasma, no cell wall. Wait a minute. Fungi, the cell wall will contain chitin. And the fifth one, what is the case? You have your protista, non-cellulose, or cellulose. In some cases, you will have cellulose. Okay, so this is something that you should know. This is how your 5 kingdoms are classified based on the cell wall content. Second slide, someone is asking. Yeah, you can see it. Third slide, yeah, you can see it. Okay, so second slide. First slide. You're saying that you cannot understand for protist. Protist will have like non-cellulose. Some of them will have like pellicle kind of substances. Pellicle kind of substances are not cellulose. Okay, so you have that is the case. It's cellulose. I'm sorry. Okay, and then you have protozoans. Protozoans will have water. Protozoans will not have cell wall. No cell wall because they are all representing animals. Okay, so protozoans will not have cell wall. If you're talking about euglenoids, euglenoids will have pellicles. Okay, and then some of them will have like what? Non-cellulose structures. They will be having different chemicals. Okay, you have galactans, mannans, those kind of things and all are there. But galactans, mannans are found in plants only. Plants, algae, you will see. Okay, algae will be containing, algae is belonging to plant kingdom, but they will contain what? They will contain mannan, galactan, these are the basic thing for algae. So plants majority it will also have cellulose, but additionally you will have these things. This is for algae, but all plants will surely have what? Cellulose. In case of Monera, it is only peptidoglycan. Monera will have only peptidoglycan. Fungi will majority will have chitin only. In Protista, it is a very varied group. You have like different sorts which are there. You have what are the things which are there? You have chrysophytes are there. You have Trippivanti, you have like your euglenoids are there. You have diatoms are there. I mean like which one? Dinoflagellates are there. Then you have slime mold is there. And then you also have protozoans. In protozoans, you don't have cell wall. Here you will have cell wall. Some of them might contain cellulose. Some of them might contain non-cellulose. Okay. So some of them will have cellulose. Some of them which will resemble plants will be able to, cellulose will be there. Some of them will have non-cellulose. Are we able to understand? So in Protista, you cannot say for sure that this is what is the cell wall is made up of. You have to study one by one, character by character, you should be able to study. So coming back to the question here, 122, some bacteria are able to grow in the presence of antibiotics due to what? we already have studied that the growth of bacteria is always in the presence of antibiotics is linked to the presence of plasmids. Okay. Here there are there is a option which is called as all the above, which means we'll try to read other statements and we'll try to find out why it is wrong. Plasmids in such bacteria bear genes for antibiotic resistance. We know that this is correct. Rigid cell wall around the cells. It is not the rigid cell wall which is making them resistant to bacteria antibiotics. It is not because of that thing. Special metabolism that helps in survive in such conditions. No, that is also not the case. It is only the product of the plasmids that is causing the growth to happen. Okay, so please understand that bacteria which are resistant to antibiotics will surely have what? Will plasmids. Are we able to understand 122? Can we move on further? Respond something at least. It's appearing as if you're all sleeping at home. Okay, so the next one is if you're active, I'll be able to know only if you're like kind of chatting. Otherwise, like I don't have any clue as to like whether you're listening or not. All the more I appear like some kind of lunatic who's like kind of talking to his self. And then in this class, like people will also play PUBG while the class is on. And that too, they will start sharing the screen as well. Okay. So they are asking here to choose the correct order of discovery for each of the kingdom of classification. Okay. So you have to know how this entire five kingdom concept came. Okay. So here the idea is behind this thing is like you need to know the order of discovery. So please understand that Carolus Linnaeus, when he was like there in the two kingdom classification, he was talking only about plants and animals. Okay. When this thing came into the three kingdom classification, what were the things which came into the existence? Plants were there, animals were there, and then came up with what we call it as protist. Okay, protist was including all unicellular organisms, first of all. But later, when the four kingdom classification came, then they started having plants, animals, and then protists and monera. Okay, so initially what was happening, plants was including what? Fungi and bacteria was there, and some of the things were there, slime molds, euglena, euglenoids, and all were classified here. Okay, then the third one is like kind of like you have this protists came into the picture. So from here they started separating all the unicellular organisms and then they put together as unicellular and then protist. Again they found that there is a visible differences between even within the protist. there are some prokaryotes and then eukaryotes. So that prokaryote eukaryote classification came here. And then the fifth one is when fungi was isolated. So here in this case, fungi was also included. In this case also what was included? Fungi was also included here. So later they separated this fungi entirely outside, and then it happened that it became plants, animals, protist, monera, and finally fungi came into the picture. Okay, so lately they included this thing. So this is how it evolved. So here the order is this way. Plants and Animalia was discovered first, obviously. Then came up Protista, then came up Monera, then came up fungi. Is there any possibility for a six kingdom classification? Next, if they are going to separate it out, mostly it will be Archaea. Okay. So now what we are doing is we are no more classifying organisms based on kingdom classification. Now we have broadened it and then we have gone into the domain system. So now after 2000, no, after 2000, they are like mostly like they are classifying them based on the domain. So domain 11, you have that Carl Woese thing that we studied. This guy started studying about like eukarya, prokarya, and then archaea. If at all, if you want the sixth kingdom to be outside, then it will be like what? It will be like coming out in terms of archaea only. I'm not sure about the eighth kingdom and all. Mostly now we have given up mostly with the kingdom classification, and we are like kind of like mostly going ahead with the domain based system. 3 domains, that's all. What is domain? Basically, you are dividing all the organisms into 3 distinct groups. Okay. One is a group of organisms which are eukaryotes. The other one, which we call it as prokaryotes. And then the third one, which is having a totally different structure from these two things, which we call them as archaea. That is what is domain system. Okay. Is there any unique kingdom classification? No. There is no unique kingdom. Always it started with duality. Plants, animals. Okay. So we have done 123. Now we will go for 124. Bacteria which uses organic compounds for hydrogen donation during photosynthesis are called as what? Okay. So here you need to see the solution, because I think, okay, what is that thing that they have given? Okay, just they have given the answer. Nothing else is given. Okay. So now here you are like learning something more here. Okay. You are like kind of coming ahead with something new. So you have like what is this photolithotrophs and photoorganotrophs. Okay, you have phototrophs is what you might have studied normally. Inside phototrophs, phototrophs is nothing but photoautotrophs. What is the meaning of photoautotroph? Something which will use light. Okay. Inside this thing itself, you have 2 classifications. One of them, what we call it as photolithotrophs. And then you have photoorganotrophs. The word litho is indicating earth. Lithosphere, you would have heard about lithosphere. Okay. The word organo is indicating of organic substances. Organic means something which is already existing, pre-made. So, usually you should know about photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, there has to be some sort of electron donor. You will study in photosynthesis chapter later. Okay. But what you need to know is like there is something called as electron donor is there. So how is this electron donor is like there? Only if that electron donor is going to donate electrons, you will get this process will happen. So in your normal thing, in your normal plants, if photosynthesis is happening, hydrogen, I mean like water is going to donate electrons. Okay, in some cases, hydrogen sulfide will donate electrons. These are substances which are inorganic. So they will come under this category. But in some cases, some organic molecules will donate electron. Okay, in such cases, we call it as photoorganotrophs. Okay. Okay. So someone is asking me, why do they donate electrons? So you'll understand that thing when you are like kind of studying about photosynthesis. It's a very complex process. Okay. So I will try to tell you that thing when I'm teaching photosynthesis. But as of now, you please understand what is the role of water in photosynthesis. Water will donate electrons alone. You just remember it. Okay. So there is a separate chapter called as photosynthesis where we will study the mechanism of photosynthesis. There I will try to tell you how this is like happening and then why should electrons be donated and all those things I will try to tell you there. Okay, because there is an exclusive chapter on photosynthesis. Okay, there is something about this photoorganotrophs that you should know about. Okay. So what is this photoorganotroph? There is one more thing. You have organisms like Euglena. They will also come under this category. Okay. The organisms which will be like having dual mode, which means they will use light as a source of energy and also depend on organic matter for energy. They will be like kind of like having dual role. So you have like studied about Euglena. Euglena behaves both like plants as well as animals. So sometimes they will be like kind of deriving energy from light and sometimes they will be deriving energy from organic matter. So those kind of organisms are also considered to be what? They are considered to be photoorganotrophs. Okay. If you are having that lithotroph is exclusively photosynthetic. It will use only inorganic substances. But when it is organotroph, it can either use organic matter or light. I mean, like organic matter only, mostly it will try to use. So here the question is, bacteria which uses organic compounds for hydrogen donation during the photosynthesis is called as dash. Of water is known as photolysis. Yes, it is known as photolysis. Photo means light, lysis means breaking down. Using light, water is broken down. That is called as photolysis. In photosynthesis, what will happen? This water will be broken down into protons, and you will get O minus. When two molecules are broken down, what will you get? You will get proton, proton, and you will get O2. Okay, so this proton is used for reduction. This oxygen is liberated out. You will all study this information in later in NCERT. It is there in NCERT only. Okay. So it is all there in NCERT text itself, but it is present in a different topic altogether. Okay, so now we can go ahead with the next question. Association between phycobiont and mycobiont is called as lichens. I think this is a very simple question, 125. I'm not like trying to take too much time on it. Dash is the cell wall component of fungi. We have studied ample about it. Chitin, this is also I'm not taking much about it. So this is like kind of there. So here only one thing that you should know is pseudopeptidoglycan. Pseudopeptidoglycan is what? Pseudopeptidoglycan is found in archaebacteria, like methanogens. Peptidoglycan is found in all bacteria. Chitin is found in fungi. Starch is not found in the cell wall. The next question. Which of the following is not a mode of nutrition in ascomycetes? Okay. So here you should know about ascomycetes. No, you just see here. In ascomycetes, it's given here very perfectly. Ascomycetes are saprophytic decomposers. Okay. And they have given here they are saprophytic, they are decomposers, parasitic, or coprophilous. What is the meaning of this word coprophilous? It means growing on dung. Okay. So whenever an organism is depending on dung and then like it is trying to eat dung and then like it is trying to live, then we call them as coprophilous. The word corpro is like indicating dung. Phyllis is indicating attraction. Okay, so that is what it is. So here they have given it very clearly. Coprophilous is one thing, and the second thing is saprophytic. They have given. Parasitic is also given. What is? It need not be cow dung. It can be any dung. Whenever you are talking about coprophilous, no, if it is like thriving on waste of other organism, then we call them as coprophilous. You have this cockroach. Cockroach can eat human feces and then like it can survive. There are many say like worms which can digest human feces and they can survive. Okay, or like it can also live in cow dung. It can also live in any other form of dung. So there are organisms which can survive only in the based on the dung. So those organisms are called as coprophilous. When I'm using the word sanguinovorous, it means it will thrive on blood. Okay, the word sanguino is indicating blood. Sanguine is blood. So there are some leeches, lices kind of organisms which live in blood. So those are called as sanguinovorous organisms. Sanguinovorous is thriving in blood. We can also say that as sanguivorous. Yeah, sanguivorous is also correct. Sanguivorous is also sanguinovorous. Is, both are same only. Okay, so that is there. Which of the following is a giant sarcodine? You should know that yeah, you should already know that it is foraminifera and radiolaria. Okay, I think I have given this thing in the class directly. Amoeba, Leishmania, trypanosoma. Amoeba is a sarcodine. Okay, but not a giant one. Leishmania is like what? Leishmania will have flagellate. Trypanosoma is also having flagella. So these are all flagellates. These two are flagellates. These two are sarcodines. The giant sarcodine is foraminifera. Which of the following describes about the plasmodium rightly? Okay. So here you have to be very careful about the usage of the word plasmodium. We don't know what plasmodium they are talking about. So let us try to approach this question with an open mind. Okay. So what is the thing that you should know is you should know that which is the thing that is there. It is a worm that causes malaria. They have given. Is it a worm? It is not a worm. Worms and all will come under the class of Platyhelminthes, which is animal kingdom. So it is not a worm. So please understand that this is not a worm. It is a protist. Okay. Protist cannot be worms. That way I can eliminate B. It is a flagellated protist that causes malaria. That is also wrong. What about plasmodium? Plasmodium will not come under what? It will not come under flagellated structure. It will come under which one? It will come under sporozoans. Yeah. So that way, this is like wrong. It is the cell aggregate in slime molds with distinct cellular structures. That is wrong. Why? It is a cell aggregate in slime molds, correct? But they will not have distinct cellular structures. But as in like they are all xenocytic in nature. So when you're talking about plasmodium is an aggregate of multiple things together. But you will not be, they will have like many nucleus in it. But what you will not be able to see is you will not be able to see the distinction part in between. So this is what is plasmodium. What is it in case if we are having a plasmodium with distinct cell walls? What do we call this as? If it is like this, what will we call it as? If it is cellular, what is the name that we use? We call it as pseudoplasmodium. Yes, exactly. Very good. So that way A is there. Cellular organization is not found in which one? All these things will have cellular organization. Which one will not have? It is the virus that will not have cellular organization. Okay. So I think it's an easy question. I am not going to be there in school, so it is like it will not be rethought. It is not me. I think it is one of your student has answered it in 0 seconds. So he has guessed it probably, I guess. What is true for cyanobacteria? The thing that is true for cyanobacteria is oxygenic. Oxygenic means they will liberate oxygen. But whether with the nitrogenase activity or without nitrogenase activity is the question. They are the first organism which will give rise to oxygen. True, that is the case. That is what we mean by the word oxygenic. And then what is nitrogenase? Nitrogenase is an enzyme responsible for nitrogen fixation. Okay, nitrogenase is an enzyme responsible for nitrogen fixation. So what happens is like cyanobacteria can all fix nitrogen. So which means they have high nitrogenase activity. So the answer is A. Are we understanding 131? Okay. The next one, which of the following processes does not involve a bacterium? Okay. This is where you might have a problem. The answer here is given as none of these. Okay. Some of you might be tempted to answer this production of alcohol is not involving a bacterium. Here, they are not given anything related to the commercial aspect. Will bacteria produce antibiotics? Yes, they will produce antibiotics. Will bacteria produce alcohol? They will produce alcohol. Will bacteria ret fiber? Yes, they will ret fiber. What is the meaning of retting fiber? Retting fiber means it is treatment with bacteria which will allow to improve the texture and quality of the fiber. So you all wear linen clothes. So if you're talking about a linen wear and all, like it is coming from cotton only. But how is it different from normal cotton? They will allow to ret it with the bacteria. So what they will do is they will be like kind of like keeping it in some processing stages there, where they would be like kind of treating it with bacteria, and they will allow the bacteria to consume the fibers so that a different quality of fiber is obtained. That is what we call it as retting of fibers. So bacteria is used for retting of fibers. Okay, and any anaerobic bacteria will produce alcohol. Any anaerobic organism will produce alcohol. Though we are not involving bacteria in the production of alcohol in a commercial scale, still what you should know is like bacteria will be able to produce what? It will be able to produce alcohol. Okay. So all the 3 points are like involved. The question is asking about which of the processes does not involve bacterium. All these processes involve bacteria. Are we understanding? Okay, blue-green algae contains what? Is the question. So blue-green algae will contain, it is having something similar to that of the higher plants, which is the one which is having higher plants, which is the chlorophyll which is there in higher plants. It is chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. But what you see in blue-green algae is chlorophyll A only. What is bacteriochlorophyll? Bacteriochlorophyll is a special type of chlorophyll which is found only in bacteria which are photosynthetic. So eubacteria that are photosynthetic, not eubacteria, I mean like bacteria that are photosynthetic will not have normal chlorophyll. They will have a special type of chlorophyll which is primitive, that is called as bacteriochlorophyll. So which means in your Monera, you will have the normal bacteria and cyanobacteria. You will also have archaea. The cyanobacteria will have chlorophyll A. In this bacteria, you have photosynthetic is also there, heterotrophic is also there. This photosynthetic bacteria will have bacteriochlorophyll. Okay. In case of archaea, the most of them are chemoautotrophs. So they will not have like light bearing pigments mostly. Are we able to understand? So moving on further, 134. Variation within bacterial species occurs due to what? Okay. This one I think I need to explain. So tomorrow we will continue. It will require lots of time. I will just continue. I will just like finish off this 135. What is the storage substance in Euglena? Euglena is like para-amylum. Okay. I think I need to teach you what is the difference between all these three processes. These three processes I think you should know. We can see it tomorrow. Okay. We'll wrap up today's class. Thanks for being there.